It's Monday, and if you live anywhere near Manchester, you'll be freezing your socks off as the snow is coming. But we've got loads to keep you warm with the arrival of Ruben this week. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribing, liking. That's Motty. I'm Scotty. We talk about footy.
Nice. Almost got away with that one. That was quite good, though. Still, yeah, it's freezing. But we're being kept warm by the prospects of Ruben Amorim, aren't we? We're all excited. I was saying this on the Pallet podcast, right? This is my favourite part of being a Man United fan. When
International period?
No, when a new manager's coming in, we've not played under him yet. Because once the football starts, sometimes it goes wrong very quickly. Like, Ten Hag lost his first 2 games. Van Gaal lost his first competitive game. I think Moyes lasted about 3 or 4 games before the wheels started coming off, and then they came off pretty drastically.
Ollie did well until he got the job.
Yeah, Ollie did well. Then he started losing a couple, and he gave him the job permanently.
Ralph Ragnick's 45 minutes against Palace. Legendary.
That was good, that wasn't it? Jose did well in the cups, but some of the Premier League football in that first season was a bit testing, to say the least. So sometimes this is the golden period.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's been appointed. You're full of hope and expectation. And then the football starts and you're like, oh no. But I'm being negative. I think he'll be all right.
He'll be all right? Or do you think he will exceed maybe our expectations that have been dampened somewhat by what we've seen over the last decade?
The worry I've got, right, is I've kind of said a lot of these things about Ten Hag, because I thought Ten Hag, of the choices that were available, was the best one. In terms of his CV, the fact he was an up-and-coming coach rather than someone whose best days were long behind him. And he had a style at Ajax that we could all look at and go, okay, that's a style that's been successful. He can bring that to United. So I'm kind of repeating myself. The one positive or extra positive I will give Ruben Amorim from what we've seen so far is the fact that he does seem to have a very good relationship with the media, quite charismatic, quite warm. That was one thing that wasn't always there with Ten Hag. It's not the be all and end all. Obviously, ultimately, you've got to win football matches. You've got to have things I mentioned about style of play and obviously man management or whatever. But just being able to have that media, having that charisma, having that sort of charm, if you will, it's kind of been missing on it from United. And, you can get away with not having it. Look, Fergie wasn't always the nicest to media or whatever, and he was the best manager I've ever seen. But I do feel it can help, and I do feel it can also help you just to get off on the right foot. And even when things aren't going according to plan, the media, they're just human beings, can be a little bit kinder to people who have a good relationship with them, who work with them at times. Not all the time. They're still going to give you pelters if you're losing football matches, but it can just give you that little bit of an advantage. And that's one positive I think I've seen from what Ruben Amorim's done. Obviously, the proof of the pudding is going to be on Sunday when we kick off against Ipswich. But in terms of how he started off, just the sort of meeting the staff, giving an interview for MUTV, the way he's sort of gone about his business so far is pretty, positive, really.
Yeah. So that's one change that's already been made, would you say?
Yeah.
Between the sort of...
You said it yourself, Scotty, you weren't Ten Hag's biggest fan after the initial season in particular, and one of the things you criticised him for was what he said in media, what he said to the press. Some of the comments came across as deluded, and I feel like I cheated in the Eric Ten Hag press conferences, because you know this better than anyone. There's a press conference in pre-season and there's a press conference when the season started, and they ain't the same.
No.
A press conference in pre-season when you're all sat away in California or whatever, and you've not kicked a ball competitively, yet, and you've brought in some new signings, or you've just won the FA Cup, or you've just won, you've just been appointed. It's all gravy. It's all good. There's no need to stress. There's nothing. Everyone's all relaxed, and the press pack are all a bit of a jolly, so it's all good. But when you've just lost 3-0 at home to Bournemouth or whatever, it's different. So I never really got to see properly firsthand what Eric Ten Hag was like in a presser, other than the ones in pre-season which I mentioned. But I saw it with Ollie, I saw it with Jose, I saw it with David Moyes, and I saw it with Louis van Gaal and Fergie. And obviously when things are going wrong,
cracks opened up in the sort of the statements that what was Moyes, Man City are a club that we aspire to be like.
Moyes had a catalogue of them, didn't he?
Within like 6 months of just taking over the league.
He said that. He said, we're going to make life difficult for Newcastle when they were visiting Old Trafford. And you're like, what? Are we playing prime Real Madrid in the second leg when we're 1-0 up? What are you on about? He said that Liverpool, and he was, he might have been, he was probably true. He said Liverpool are favourites going into this game, like leading up to the game. You don't say that about United when we're the reigning champions of the Premier League and you're playing against the Scousers. There was loads. Remember was it the Shinji Kagawa one? He said Shinji Kagawa was ill because he had too much. And Shinji Kagawa had to do a statement saying, "No, I'm not an idiot. If I eat and I'm full, I stop eating. I don't carry on eating until I'm ill." I
should have done that eat all you can buffet. Ruined me. Can't play football today. What?
And it's indicative when a manager says these things, because David Moyes, don't forget, was at Everton for 10 years.
Yeah.
He wasn't a complete moron. Like, he managed a Premier League club for a long time. Yeah. And he didn't weekly come out with drivel.
It's like a sign, innit? You know, when people play poker and you can tell a sign about what's going on underneath.
It's mentally, you're unravelling.
Cognitive ability to coherent sentences.
Yeah, and I think with Ten Hag we saw it where he'd pivot constantly just towards the last few weeks, especially about the 2 trophies. And it's like, I get it. And after the FA Cup final, I was with him. But then when you're saying it constantly, it's like, we've won 2 trophies. And then you're trying to sort of say, like, you're not trying to say, you are saying, other than Manchester City, we're the most successful team. And I get that works to a certain degree, like, but after a while, it doesn't. Yeah. And it kind of, it went against him. And this is what Ruben Amorim, has got to be careful about as well, because I think me and Steve were mentioning this the other day, or it might be me and Joe, the things that we look at as positives about Ruben Amorim now, his charm, his charisma, his youth, will go against him or be used against him.
He'll be tested to the
if the results go west, because people go, he's too young, too bothered about the media. Hey, if he wasn't so busy giving press conferences, he'd have won football matches. Like, what are you on about? But that's the kind of thing that happens. If you look, a good example, there was, I'm trying to think, like, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a perfect example. I think I mentioned this on the news this morning. When Ole came in, he was the opposite of Mourinho at a time when we needed that. We needed someone who could go, all right, son, keep going. You're all right, Paul Pogba. Get back in the team. You know what I mean? Behind you. And that worked for a bit. But then when it stopped working, especially just before he got sacked and we're getting beat and we're getting hammered, people going, he's too friendly with the players. He's too pally with them. They don't respect him. So everything that was a positive about him became a negative. And that's one thing I'm wary of with Amorim. I don't think it will happen, but I know it can happen because it's the nature of the beast when you're Manchester United manager.
Yeah, it certainly is. Make sure you're subscribing and liking. Have we got any comments in on that first point then?
Yes, so you talk about the media and the relationship there. Just a load of people in the chat already. Sergio Lopez has already given his 5. He's not messing about. Reinstate player confidence, resolve the midfield disconnect, fix the pressing structure, address defensive leadership, reignite the attack, and then a bonus, handle the media with poise. Very good list that. I agree with pretty much.
Sack the show off now.
He's done it. There you go. Go and check out Sergio Lopez's comment there. Miles says, I'm not getting ahead of myself, but we will be on the same points as Arsenal by Christmas. Okay. Ross Murphy's pointed out here. This is great. The ultimate David Moyes quote. He said we need to work on our passing, shooting, scoring goals and winning games. It was it our passing, shooting and our defending, wasn't it, or something? Yep. It was just literally everything that you do as a football team. Someone's Van der Goal says Ross Murphy is everywhere, like COVID incarnate. Top lad Ross Murphy, one of the moderators on Stretford Paddock, and always supported this channel as well, and we appreciate it. Heaven Soul says, I want to see us move off the fucking ball. Hate this post-Fergie thing of static football. It's like watching chess. Sid the Whistle's got an interesting question. He says, what elements of previous managers post-Fergie would you want to see in a manager?
I quite liked the ruthlessness of Mourinho with the press and stuff like that. That was one of Fergie's great strengths. Whilst he could be charismatic towards the press, it felt when you were a United fan, especially during the 90s and the early 90s, it was like you against the world sort of thing. Yeah. And I think Mourinho tried to, but I think that's just his nature anyway. I think that's why he was successful at Chelsea. So maybe that in Mourinho, but definitely not the football. I probably meant more of the cavalier style of the late wins under Solskjaer.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it looks at Ole, the way he was able to set up against City, he had a good record against City at a time when City were beating everyone, and we won, was it 3 out of 4 or something at the Etihad, and then we beat him obviously in the Scott McTominay game as well at Old Trafford. He seemed to just, and that worked. It was like, listen, we're going to counter, we're going to soak up pressure, and we'll hit him with Martial and Rashford on the break, and Dan James, who turned into prime Andrei Kanchelskis.
Remember him?
Yeah, for those games, didn't it? And it worked, and I didn't mind. No one went, they had more possession. We don't give a shit. We won the game. That's all you cared about. So I'd say that I agree with the thing about Jose being ruthless. Jose could be charismatic, I had one of my best conversations with any manager ever was with Jose at a press conference when he was the first season and a bit. He was great. until he unravelled massively.
Yeah.
Sort of post Sevilla.
I think when he realised he wasn't going to get like the support that he got at Chelsea, at United, then I thought my days here are numbered. I'm just going to try and get out of the employment as quickly as possible.
I'll tell you another thing I'd have as well. I want Louis van Gaal's ability to get it right more often than not for the big games.
Right, okay.
His record against Liverpool, for example, like I think he had
Arsenal as well.
Arsenal, Liverpool, City. It was the 4-2 at home to City. Remember the Arsenal game, Rashford won, and also Liverpool. There was Wanfield, the most one-sided 2-1 ever.
Yeah.
That you look at that on paper and you go, it's 2-1. It's a close game. Fuck off. It should have been 5-0. We just dominated him. And when you saw that team he sent out, you go, Juan Mata and Fellaini in midfield. I don't know about this one, son, but he got his tactics absolutely spot on. That was just one of those games that I think, even though we all love it and we rave about it, I actually think tactically it was proper chef's kiss to tackle that.
Yeah. David Moyes, the most crosses in a game. To be honest, a cross and this team wouldn't go amiss.
It wouldn't, would it?
You know what I mean? Like what Højlund would do in a David Moyes United.
There's a quote you don't hear often today. If Højlund was in a David Moyes United, he'd have 30 goals this season. Go on then. What's your next on your list?
So next on my list, I think someone mentioned it there in terms of the sort of static football. At the moment, I think like Van Gaal typified this. Table football, nobody's sort of running off each other and the sort of laissez-faire attitude towards playing for the United shirt. There's no energy or enthusiasm, and I think that's got to be the first thing. Because the players, especially when you look to the likes of Rashford, who maybe sort of, if he doesn't perform from the off, could find himself looking for a new club in the summer, should one want to take on that behemoth of a wage packet that he's got. So just the sort of taking the handbrake off, whatever Ten Hag was trying to get him to do, just felt a little bit constipated. I think I've used that phrase before. I think he needs to, give him some juice.
Nah, I hear that. I do. I think you can stomach. Don't get me wrong, we'll always moan if we lose. But it's not just losing, it's losing without fighting, it's losing without any sort of, even to quote Donald Trump, the concept of a plan. It just looked like you just sort of give up almost at times, and that's unforgivable at Manchester United. And you want to see a team that at least looks like they're trying, has a system that you can kind of understand what we're trying to do, and attempts at being entertaining as well. And I think those times or those games were sort of few and far between, especially towards the end of all the managers we've mentioned, not just tonight, but Ollie came unstuck. We were getting hammered most weeks. Jose did, and Louis van Gaal, the football had turned to absolute just rubbishness about 3 months before he left. So yeah, I agree with that. You want to see him taking off the shackles and going for it 100%. Glenn F says, totally agree with you on this point, Scotty. Pathogenic says, do you think Sancho can be reintroduced as one of the 2 number 10s? I think the deal with Chelsea is that they have they're
obliged to buy him.
I think they've got to buy him, or I think the only thing is if they finish above a certain position, they have to pay more, and if they finish below it. But I do not see Jadon Sancho coming back to Manchester United. I don't think it's an option, and I don't think it would happen even if it was. I get it. I get this. There's this idea with these 2 number 10s that Amorim likes to play, that a lot of players could be tried there. So like you look at, you go, obvious one is Bruno Fernandes, because that's kind of where he plays anyway, or he can play. He's played there before. Then you look at someone like Amad Diallo, you think that could really suit him. He's kind of played there before anyway. And it's like he can be a winger, he can be a 10. It's a bit of a mixture of both of those things. Couldn't Garnacho play that? Could Marcus play that role? Could even someone like an Eriksen push further up the pitch? You know what I mean? There's been suggestions that people make you could try Kobbie Mainoo there. Do you know what I mean? It feels like you might be seeing getting carried away, but a position where a lot of our players who are good in that final third could play there. So I get why someone's suggesting Jadon Sancho, but I don't think he's an option staying at Manchester United.
I mean, we look at our sort of strength in depth, it's probably across that midfield area, isn't it? Anyway, the players that Mason Mount as well is another one who could probably play in that.
Do you know what? I keep forgetting about Mason Mount.
So Mason Mount keeps forgetting about Mason
Mount. I don't mean to be horrible to him, but that is a role that, again, you think would suit him. Luke Powell in Super Chat says, identifying a style of play early on is important. Do you agree with that?
I agree with it completely. But do you think that he comes in and does it from the off? Basically says, right, we've got all the Ten Hag blueprint or whatever. We're just going to fuck that off into the bin. We're going Ruben's way. Do you know what I mean? Do you do it from the off, Or do you have this sort of slow transition period where he looks at it and says, right, well, to move from one style to another?
I think, you know what?
Is it day and night? Is it possible
I'm a big fan of managers coming in and just trying to implement their style straight away.
Yeah,
personally. I get the argument of, you've got to come in and you've gradually got to do it. But ask yourself a question. What were we doing under Ten Hag? What was going on? And also...
You tell me.
Exactly. And also, and I'm not trying to hate on Eric Ten Hag because I supported him past the point of wisdom up until the Spurs game. But let's be honest, it was like there wasn't a style there where everyone could go, this is a style that's working. And, eventually lost even me. Ruud van Nistelrooy didn't seem to follow the Eric Ten Hag blueprint. It was pretty much, his own thing, really.
Yeah.
And he was only there for 4 games. So I get it. And also, the players are already there. Your guy is a player that I'll get there in the end, Ruben Amorim knows and can work in a Ruben Amorim team because he's done it before. You've got 3 centre-backs that you can pick from. The only question is about the wing-backs, if you're going to go with a 3-4-3. But you look at it and go, okay, Mazraoui for me looks perfect for that role. And, I know it's a big if Luke Shaw or Tyrone Malacia are available, they can fulfil that role. Or maybe even play Delo. Or you take a punt on someone like a Diallo or a Garnacho as a wing-back. There's options there to try and make it work, but I think you fucking do it.
And I think it shows a lack of bravery as well. If you come in and say, right, we'll tinker with it a little bit. I just say go balls deep, man, and just get in.
And I think that, look, if you come in and you go, we're not going to do my system straight away. We're going to do, a little bit of what we've been doing here. We're going to stick with a 4-2-3-1 or whatever it is. And or we're going to, imagine if you said, right, we're going to have Casemiro as a lone defensive midfielder, like we did under. So now people go, you've lost the plot. If you come in and go, look, this is my system, fucking learn it. This is how you're going to play. Yeah. This is what we're going to do. I'm not going to scrap it if it doesn't work. If we get beat off Ipswich, it's not going out the window and we try something else. You fucking learn this. This is what we're going to do. And if you want to be a part of Manchester United Football Club, then you have to get involved in this. I think that would be the best way of going about it.
He's got to have the courage of his convictions, hasn't he? And I think you lose a dressing room very quickly if you're not going to come in with any sort of identifiable strategy of how you want to play football rather than sort of tweaking the previous manager who no longer is in the position because he couldn't get the best out of them players.
I think, if I was him, I'd be having these conversations with the likes of Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox and Omar Barado and saying, look, I am going to play my style. This is the style I want to play. Yeah. If these fuckers don't get it straight away... A, they're getting binned off, and B, you got to stick with me. So you can't be just going, right, okay, well, it's not work, let's change back to a 4-3-3 or whatever. Like, I need your backing and support, and I need these players to realise that if they don't, they can't go running to, not saying they would, but they can't go running to Dan Ashworth saying, I don't like this manager, fuck off, learn it or do one. Do you know what I mean? I think that's, you have to do. Let me go into some of the comments here because people are talking about... OMD Willie Turnip says Mount could cook as one of the 10s for sure. Glenn F says thank the world for small mercies. Talking about Jason Sanchez, that's the name we used to give Jadon Sancho before we signed him, not having any of a chance of coming back to OT. Sergio Lopez says he said in the MUT interview that from the start he will implement an identity. So that might be a little nod. He said, I think he said, didn't he? He said about whether it's 4-3-3, 3-4-3. He said more about the identity of the character. I think he said about the character of the players as well, rather than just the system. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, Pathogenic says a prime Luke Shaw would be perfect for a 3-4-3. Brilliant on the ball, relatively quick, strong, and got an eye for an assist goal. But it's Luke Shaw, and his prime lasted 6 months. Interesting. What's next on your list?
That was Luke Shaw was the next one. That was a lovely segue, actually, because what do you do with the Luke Shaw situation?
Is that, and I get your point, but is that something that's out of his hands?
Out of Amorim's hands? Yeah, but that's what I mean. Long term, though, it's got to be a change that he's going to make. I don't think we're going to go out buying a left back in January.
Oh, right, sorry. I thought you meant like you need to get a tune out of Luke Shaw.
No, I think Luke Shaw on his day... Brilliant player, but his days are far and few between, and that's the problem. We can't rely on that player that turns up for 3 months of a season.
We're on our day, FC. I've said this before. On his day, right? I've watched Anthony destroy Barcelona. On his day, I've seen fucking Casemiro look like the player that was on Real Madrid. On his day, Harry Maguire's the best defender in the league. Like every player we've got on their day is mint. Do you know what I mean? The problem is, they're on our days few and far between, and it's like we need a bit of consistency there. So listen, you're right, Luke Shaw, when he plays, he's mint, but he doesn't play. He's missed, I think, 50% of the last 4 seasons. So it's not just last season. It's been a sort of recurring theme. Tyrone Malacia, I think he played 45 minutes against Huddersfield, under 21s the other day. Good to see him back playing. I think there's a massive question mark over whether he's going to be good enough. After that injury, I think Luke Shaw is one of the best left backs in the world when he's playing. I wouldn't say that about Tyrone Malacia, and I like Tyrone Malacia. So we'll have to see if he's lost anything with his long-term injury. I hope not. Harry Amasu I love, but he's 17. Is he ready to come into a Manchester United team? Listen, I think was it Quandra? I always get his name wrong. The kid that he had at Sporting that he played from about the age of 17. It's one of his wing backs, I think. Maybe he does that with Harry Amas. But you're right, it's a pickle. Yeah. The left back situation.
And up front there, you were talking about giving breaks to
Quendra. Sorry, I always call him Quandra.
To young players.
Quenda,
Sporting. Even. Like up front, what's he going to do with regarding the Højlund situation? Is it that these two 10s are going to provide more for Højlund up front? Is it going to be that we're going to go out in the winter transfer window to go and get the guy from Sporting? I can't see them letting him go halfway through a season.
Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah. Does it promote? His name's gone back. The 16-year-old lad that we got from.
Sheedo will be mine.
Yeah. So would that be on the cards?
Potentially. I feel like he's a bit too young. Sheedo will be mine. People we have Finn on the Academy review for Stretford Paddock, and he says he could be third choice. He's not as far. He could get minutes this season. Now, you probably could get minutes, but could he be the guy? I'm doubtful. Yeah. I'm doubtful for a 16-year-old. I don't think he's far off 17, but even so, to come into the Manchester United first team and be the main man would be a lot to ask for him. He's not actually. He's oh no, he is. He's 17 in 2 weeks or just over a week, whatever. But still. It's a big ask, innit? Yeah,
and it says more about our current crop of strikers or goal scorers with respect to his ability that we'd be called on the 17-year-old to, find the back of the net. The other players should be doing it, and hopefully Amorim can get that. And that leads me to the next one, is the Marcus Rashford situation. Where does that go?
What do you do with...
What do you do with a problem like Marcus Rashford? It's unidentifiable what the problem is, unless it was Ten Hag. But then when you looked at how Rashford was playing under Rudy, he didn't seem to have any more enthusiasm, like he was walking around listening to a Joy Division record half of the game.
Yeah, I was disappointed with the Leicester performance in particular of Marcus. I thought that was a game that he needed to step up in. I know it's only one game, but he's not having an amazing season. I thought he had a decent start to the season, to be fair to him. But now you're in a position where you got one league goal. It's not good enough. And look at the level of some of the opposition, like Leicester. You fucking get at him. They're not,
That's an opposition that you should be changing your not career, trajectory of your season on.
Yeah, that can get you going. If Southampton it did. Played against Southampton, he had a very good game. He got a goal, and he did well. And then it's like, against Leicester, it's the things that we're not too keen on Marcus about that come to the front, and you're like, come on, man, this is your chance to just get on a score sheet, get your Premier League goal tally up, or at least cause them problems. Run at him, you're at Old Trafford. Get at him, man. In Leicester. But it just didn't happen. I think he's in the situation he was in under Erik ten Hag. When Erik ten Hag came in, people say I'm like Marcus Rashford's biggest fan. I won't have any slander against him. It's nonsense. I said it after the Ralph Rangnick season. I said Marcus Rashford has got to hit the ground running under Erik ten Hag. Us by Christmas he could be gone. Erik ten Hag doesn't owe him anything. Erik ten Hag didn't bring him through the youth. Erik ten Hag's got to win football matches, and if Marcus Rashford don't help him do that, he'll get rid of him. And I think we're in a similar position with Ruben Amorim. I get your point about his wages being a massive issue, but if Ruben Amorim says to the club and the board and to Marcus and to everyone, I'm not playing him, he ain't good enough.
Yeah.
Then Marcus Rashford's got a choice. He can either spend the latter 20s of his playing career warming the bench for Manchester United, a club where he's been a starter for the last 9 years, whatever it's been, or he can move on. So I think he'll move on if he's not getting games, and I think it's up to him to make sure he gets them.
Where do you think the issue is, though? Because it's not an injury problem. I know this is pure speculation and I'm putting it on you. I do
think that part of it is confidence. And the trouble you've got with the symptoms of a lack of confidence is people don't like it when you say that. People don't like to say lack of confidence. People would rather say he's lazy, he's got a bad attitude, he doesn't want to be it. And there may be elements of some of those points that are true. But if you're lacking confidence and you're lazy, the symptoms look the same. If you're lacking confidence, you don't want the ball. If you're lacking confidence, you're not running at defenders. If you're lacking confidence, you're playing a simple pass when you get it rather than trying to, make something happen. If you're lacking confidence, your head drops and you look like physically you look down. And I think there is a bit of that. And listen, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. There might be a bit more than just a lack of confidence. He does seem to be a complicated character, Marcus Rashford, because he doesn't always seem happy, even when he should. He doesn't always seem like he's loving his football. And he's obviously a talented player, because I don't think he can score 30 goals in a season or over 100 goals in your career at a very high level. And some of the goals he scored against like City and Arsenal and Liverpool, they're not easy tap-ins. The goals that only a few players could do. So there's talent there, but is he consistent enough? No, of course not. How many goals did he get last season in the Premier League? Is it 6 or 7? Yeah. How many has he got this season? At his current rate, he's going to end up with 3. Well, it's not enough.
What justifies your empathy with him, though? And I get it. I like your empathy. I had empathy with Ten Hag and stuff, and you're willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. How long do you give Rashford if you're in your position as a fan, not as Amorim as a manager? Because I see you get stick all the time for it. So
people think, I do.
So people the opportunity to sort of be honest.
People think I won't have any, and the people rewrite history as well. Like, you never criticise Rashford. I've criticised Rashford a lot. I did a video criticising Rashford last season, and people just ignore that and go, "You never say anything bad about Marcus Rashford." I call it as I see it with Marcus Rashford, and I think there's a very, very good player there that isn't playing well enough, consistently enough. That I've always, I've said that.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But how long does that go on for?
I think he's got, if I'm being brutally honest, probably till Christmas or not Christmas. Christmas is like a month, maybe even something like that. Maybe like January, to show this manager what he's about. Otherwise, I know there's no money in the kitty or whatever, but maybe the manager just gives up with him, because Ruben Amorim, yes, he's going to have a little bit of time and leeway because he's just come in and he's Ineos' choice and all the rest of it. But ultimately, he's got to win games. He's got to try and get into the European spots. And if Marcus isn't helping him do that, he can't just wait for him to maybe get his head together.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget, this will be, if Marcus has a bad season, this will be his 3rd bad season out of 4. I think he had one bad one under the Rangnick season. He had a bad one last season. If he has another one this season, then you've got 3 bad ones in the 30-goal season, which was a good one. That's not a player that you look at and go, he's reliable, he's good, he's what I need. So I think Marcus Rashford has got maybe 2-3 months to prove to this manager, I'm your guy. Lucas Paulus is confidence player. He scores 1, he will be okay. I hope you're right. Ethan Sweeney says Mason Mount will work as an inverted winger in that new system if Amorim even does implement it, in my opinion. Pathogenic says the question is whether Garner has the drive and dedication to switch to striker. Plus, it's heavily dependent on growth spurt and bulking up. Garner doesn't have the right frame right now for a number 9. Have you got any more? How many things?
5, I think.
I think that was 5, to be honest with you. If you're Ruben Amorim, right, you're just in a job and you've got all the things you mentioned that you got to fix. What's the most important thing for you? What's that one thing? Out of all the things we mentioned, it might be something we've not even mentioned.
Make sure your phone's turned off on live.
He's only been doing this for about 10 years. Give him some, give him some leeway. What would be the one thing?
The one thing that
if I had to pick one, obviously you've got a lot.
Yeah.
But you think this is it. This is the main thing.
The thing that wins your games, and he's got to get the ball in the back of the net. I'm hoping this new double 10s will help provide the striker, or at least get them to get the ball in the back of the net.
Do you have confidence in Højlund?
In Højlund,
because you spoke about him, I didn't really ask you. Sorry,
Højlund. Still not convinced, if I'm absolutely honest with you. But then you wonder whether it's down to the system that he's in. He seems very much a sort of player that needs the ball into the box. We've not got wingers that are providing that, and I think there's been too much pressure put on him. I think he came to United at a time when there should have been a striker ahead of him, in the same way whereas Garnacho, who was getting a lot of stick, he shouldn't be our starting winger either. He's too young to be doing it. So I think that Højlund's, through no fault of his own, he's having to bear the brunt of United needing a striker. But is he the finished article that I think we were getting? I'm not too sure. If it was me, I'd be out in January and I'd be saying, right, I want, say his name.
Victor Gyökeres.
Gyökeres.
Sporting haters, innit? We took Ronaldo, we took Bruno, we took Nani, we took the manager. Now we're coming back for the top scorer as well. If we could get him, I think, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It could be the answer to all our problems. But hopefully Rasmus Højlund will come good. Scotty, always a pleasure. You can tell it's all, in a positive vein. I mean, you haven't disagreed once during that. It's like, it's all positive vibes.
Well,
wait till we lose at Ipswich, then we'll do it.
See you next Monday.
Yeah, we'll be analysing what went wrong and disagreeing. That's been Scotty. I've been Motty. This has been Scotty and Motty. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.